Hey everybody, welcome back. Here we are. I'm recording this over the weekend once again. I guess everybody got my message about the extension of the deadline of the data journalism rewrite to this Thursday the 17th. So I wanted to spend some time during this lecture and also talk about the major assignment, which actually now has been posted. Everybody's proposal has been accepted, and also as well as do some refreshment on the feature writing assignment. Okay. All right. So let me just try to explain like how this really needs to be done. Okay. I mean, I've done this in like the announcement and the emails I sent to people and stuff, um, but let me share the screen here. Okay. So I mean, what I'm looking for really here is just, I mean, I know maybe it's kind of a little baffling to people or something like that, as I said in my email and that's in my announcement, but it really is just a story about a trend. Okay. So you really, like I said before, I mean, I've probably given this away in previous videos. Okay. The trend, okay, what we've discovered so far, I mean, out of everybody is out of 4 out of 5 years. Okay. Why do we do that? Because we want to give people some sort of context. So like, these tuition increases happen frequently. They could happen again, that sort of thing. Okay. And that is basically what the lead should be. Okay. So how do you attribute this? Well, I mean, again, like some of you like use like news reports and that sort of thing. Um, but most of you use like the news releases. And I know Rutgers Today, it's confusing, but Rutgers Today actually is their news release service. So you could say that, okay? So that has to be really the lead, okay? And then we get to the next graphs, and this is where maybe again some confusion I saw. You know, basically the reasons. These are all transitions, by the way. There's really no anecdotes yet, okay? The reasons for the reason or reasons why they've raised, I mean, the general reasons, you could just basically just sum up 4 out of 5 times. Okay. And usually it's just like they talk about affordability. We've seen that. They basically want to make, bring, raise tuition. So, I mean, it doesn't make it necessarily affordable. But they want to keep it affordable, but at the same time, they have to pay for their resources and the costs keep going up. Budget keeps going up. Okay. So, yeah, so that's basically maybe your next couple graphs right there. And then how do you attribute that? Well, I know some of you attributed to, I guess, was Mark Engelson. There were other people quoted too, but I mean, you could just basically say again, like according to Rutgers Today, or Rutgers news releases. Okay. So that's essentially like paragraphs 2, maybe 3. And then we got to highlight the years that actually really matter. Okay. Highlight years that matter. What do I mean by the years that matter? Well, really, like the highest increases of the past 5 years and the years where they didn't raise it. Okay. And I'm going to give that away right now. That was, and you got to explain. I mean, that was the year of COVID. That was 2020, 2021. Okay. But actually, you could even I saw people bring this up too. Like the year after COVID was also a significant year because they raised it again. Okay. So you could bring that one up too. Okay. They raised it 2.6%. Okay. And they use specific reasons, basically saying they had to make up for the shortfall, after the tuition freeze. Okay. All right. But the highest increases, I mean, some people have brought up like, the 2.9%. There were 2 years of 2.9%. Okay. So, but you didn't say like what was significant about it. So I would write like what was significant about that. Well, that was significant because 2.9% in those 2 years That was the highest among the 5 years, okay? And then you need to get into that and you need to basically explain, like, their reasons for raising it those 2 years. Each of those years, okay? So that's basically your outline right there, okay? 4 out of 5 years was the trend. General reasons for why they did that. I mean, costs keep going up, that sort of thing. And highlight the years. This should be like maybe 4 or 5 graphs, okay, combined, where it was, maybe like it not necessarily bucked the trend a little bit, but that was one thing where they bucked the trend the 1 year with the COVID, and they didn't raise it at all. But also the 2 years where that was actually tied for the highest, and then maybe even the year after COVID where they raised it back up again, 2.6, okay. All right. Then you get into like your students, okay? And then this is kind of like the COVID mask mandate story, okay? The students say they can't, then you get into your transitions like can't keep affording to pay more, okay? And then you get into an anecdote, okay? John Brown said he has to work 2 jobs. I mean, I don't know why some people didn't like take advantage of the discussion point we had, but we had it right there. Okay, we have anecdotes right there. Okay. Almost everybody contributed to it. So, all right. And then at the bottom, you do the list. Okay. And it begins with 2018, 2019, which I believe, I don't remember off the top of my head at this point. I think it was 2.6 or 2.3. And then you get to the next one, 2020. Oops, that was 2019, 2021. I believe that was a 2.9 year. Okay. And then 2020, oops, 21, that was the 0 year. Okay. This is where you do a chart where you basically kind of break things down to more simplistic matter for people. Okay. And that's it. Okay. I mean, you should easily get 500 words out of that, and then you're done. Okay. So that was what the story was supposed to be about. Maybe it was me. Maybe I just didn't really explain it well enough or something. I don't know. But that's all you really got to do. Okay. All right. So it's a story about a trend. It's a story about data. The data is actually the trend. I mean, we could do a deeper dive into data's kind of story, but I'm actually trying to spell things out easier. Maybe it was a little bit too easy because I almost feel like people didn't believe that it was the story was about this, but it is. Okay. All right. So that is the data journalism story. Your rewrite is due on Thursday the 17th. Okay. All right. And of course you have your feature story, which is due, but let's first talk about the major assignment, which was posted. Okay. Now this is due on Wednesday, December 14th, the last day of classes. Some of this is repetitive, but you've all been approved. This is just basically like, again, like another story. It's just going to be longer. Okay. You're going to have like your transitions, your anecdotes, that sort of thing. So you write your own major assignment. You write about what's timely, you keep it simple, something that incorporates what we talked about this semester. All right. Remember, there's no rewrite on this. And then I kind of give people a sort of like a lesson on basically how to like essentially like go about doing this. Okay. And usually, and again, using maybe actually the discussion points, people, you can actually have a discussion point if you want one. Feel free to ask me. We'll put up a discussion point for your assignment. Okay, that's fine. Okay. All right. I have a couple of examples right here of stories that worked. Students at Rutgers University, they're upset with that. You could use a different, I mean, since now we're doing feature writing, you could actually use different kind of lead. You could actually use the alternative delayed anecdotal lead if you'd like, but maybe a straightforward lead is just better. Students at Rutgers University say they're upset with the housing selection process at Rutgers, and that is often unfair and hard to get the housing they want or need. Okay, so this is a story. Now that's why I kind of emphasize to people that like really actually like getting a reaction is probably like just really what you should focus on. I had a few people were again like kind of veered into the major investigative area, or maybe require like a little bit more legwork. And I'm really just want people to focus on the writing and writing longer. I mean, basically, that's all the difference between this and maybe the COVID mask mandate assignment is that you're going to write twice as long. Instead of getting 3 to 5, you're going to get 6 to 8 sources. Okay. And then basically you have your transitions, just like you had in your older stories. Some students say the seniority doesn't guarantee good housing for juniors and seniors, and lottery is unfair. Peyton Jordan, a Rutgers, that's your transition. Peyton Jordan, a Rutgers student, says that the lottery system at Rutgers is abysmal compared to other universities where they prioritize the upper class. Okay. Jordan details that it's a disappointment that there are no factors added to the randomized lottery system that is sad to see some seniors and juniors end up in poor housing. Okay. I know so many people ended up in the same spot for more than a year. This shouldn't be happening. That's a good quote. Okay. Then a transition. Other students are saying that the housing lottery is also unfair when it comes to getting medical accommodations. Okay. Blackford expresses that many students apply for accommodations but aren't getting them. And a quote. Okay. And then it kind of follows that same pattern going all the way to the end, and then you just end it basically with a quote. And that's it. Okay. I had international students, like I said before, who actually wrote about the reaction to the plane crash. Okay. That happened, I guess it's less than a year ago, but a plane crashed in China, killed 132 people, still affecting people. It makes people frustrated about it. Some people said it's still shocking and terrifying for them since they haven't heard of a major plane accident in a long time. Okay. And then we have different people being interviewed with their anecdotes. Said he was planning to take another flight for Shanghai to work. He was shocked when he heard news of the accident. He said he had hardly heard of a major accident on a flight before, basically getting a personal anecdote, personal experience, and then a quote. Some other people said it affects their lives a lot because they have to take the airplane really often and they are worried about the safety of air travel now. So that's another quote, another transition. We go to another anecdote, and then she's got some really long anecdotes in here, which is good. Basically saying he was afraid to take them after this and that sort of thing, and he's basically afraid of dying. Okay. Again, just like it's like another reaction piece, but just kind of taking a lot. And one thing I made sure when they did this, when they proposed assignment last year, I said, do not write about the plane crash or focus on that specifically. Write about the reaction to it because the plane crash happened already. All right. So, all right. All right, so that's the major assignment that is now actually posted. Okay. All right, so let's go to the feature assignment. And I'm just going to call a couple things. All right, so basically I wanted to just again show you like the kind of story I'm gonna have in mind for this. And where it typically is located. I mean, again, I'm looking for a weather story, and I gave you guys an example of what to look for. That's actually in the assignment entry itself. I am looking for, you really just got to focus on one person, okay, at the top, because again, that allows you to kind of drill down more extensively as opposed to, I mean, I've had people say like 10 people walking around, in the rain looking lost. Well, how do you like drill down with 10 people? You go really just like a one person and their personal experience. Okay. Again, these types of stories, I mean, I hate to drag this particular story out, but it was like the only one I could really find, are typically found, if you look at the New York Times, like maybe toward the bottom. And actually they kind of like put them together, I guess, at the end of the week and something they call the Weekender. This one was actually at the bottom the other day. Scroll to begin. And new endorsements for college athletes surface an old concern: sex sells. Okay. I almost felt this story was misogynistic or something, but again, starting with drilling down with one person. Olivia Dunn is a gymnast on Louisiana State's women's team, period. Okay, so that's supposed to have some sort of dramatic pause. Give the reader some sort of sense of like, okay, what's going to happen next? Am I going to fall off a cliff? I mean, I know it's not the most exciting world, but it also sets things up for maybe a potential twist from the benign. Okay. She was an All-American in her freshman year and made the Southeastern Conference's honor roll as a sophomore majoring in interdisciplinary studies ahead of the start of junior season. So basically, they're trying to set her up as this kind of like, bring home to mama, bring home to daddy, kind of like a person that like, child who could like, well, not child, but like son or daughter who, is the all American, blah, 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 whatever, but then it's like a little bit of a twist. Ahead of the start of the junior season, she was also leading edge of a movement shaking the foundation of college sports. So she was just doing this, and then she was a female student raking in the cash to the passage of 2021 new rules allowing college athletes to sign name, image, and likeness deals. Okay. Um, and apparently it's she like what she does is she likes to pose for Instagram and that sort of thing. Okay. I hate this term people on. I feel like this is almost a sexist in itself, but she earns a staggering amount by posting to her 8 million strong internet following on Instagram and TikTok platforms, of which she intersperses sponsored content. Okay. But this is actually the nut graph right here. So we have a little bit of two little teases right here, but then we have essentially what the story is about these people who are actually become enterprising, and basically they may be doing something that's relatively benign, but they're actually making a lot of money. Okay. Doing it. And this is how she does it. Okay. So it's like tease, and then again, the story, if we could actually write the story by starting right here and then just move forward and that's it. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to like show you a videotape I made and I included as part of my assignment entry, about basically using the same discussion point we had. And don't forget, we have a discussion point on the weather. Okay. Let me just make sure we got 5 responses. Okay. Basically like we got people talking about like these are the anecdotes I was looking for. This makes it hard for me to plan my clothes. When I left the house, a tank top and a jacket, I was too hot. But when I came back, a tank top, I would be too cold. So that's like kind of decision making people have to make right now because the weather has actually been kind of warm lately. And then you have to make the decision like, should I bring a jacket? Is something I'm going to eventually have to tie around my waist, which is kind of a pain in the ass, or kind of lug around behind my back, that sort of thing. Okay. So yeah, that's exactly the kind of thing I was looking for from people's opinions and people's anecdotes, their personal experiences. Now, what I have actually is what I did previous semester was I demonstrated how this can be essentially turned to a story, and I apologize in advance about my clumsiness and the way I spoke it, but here it is. It's actually, like I said, it's actually included in your 6th assignment. This is actually again the teacher's version. Okay. All right, so how about we watch this, okay, and it's me talking, okay, and see how basically we can take like these discussion points and then turn them into a story. Basically, you probably want like a big hint about how to handle things here. You can just basically take like, I don't know, like I said, I haven't read through all these yet, okay, but maybe just take like, let's just take 3. We got Kaylee, Cameron, and Joseph. A little copy here, okay? And it's like it's not too much in your face. Okay. No, actually, I'm starting to do it right here. Okay. So maybe we do like a little bit of paste special, cut paste. Okay. All right, so this was Cameron, Kaylee. Copy that the first name here. I'm sorry. And it's Joseph Zarrell. All right, so anyway, this is what I do actually a lot now because actually like a lot of the interviews I do actually I got a transcript for. So I literally like will just cut and paste right from it. Just like you do with those news releases, you just cut and paste from it. And you can kind of shape it so that it actually is your writing. Shape it in your writing and also fit it within the context of your story. Use transitional phrases, kind of go from one paragraph to the next or one point to the next. Okay. All right. So we do something like this. Joseph Zarrell, Joe, I forget what year you're in, but just say like Rutgers. I said the weather as of late has been pretty ridiculous. Some days it's waking up to 70 to 60 to 70 good weather, wearing shorts and shirts for the next day. The next day, again, well, I'm actually paraphrasing here because I can actually cut what he's saying without getting too wordy, and make it easier to read. Okay, and people tend to read paraphrasing, storytelling, and narrative more than read quotes. Okay, weather is so interesting, especially now because of how random it is. One day it can be beautiful, the next day it can just be disgusting and muggy out, which sounds like a pretty good quote. That's probably like one anecdote or one quote right there. Okay. All right. Then we got Cameron. Wait, spell your name right. Well, it's right there. Let's see here. Cameron Giallo, on the other hand, said she really enjoys the weather. You do like a partial quote. Maybe even gets to experience full on. Maybe, if we only experienced cold or hot weather instead of both, I think we would get sick of the constant higher temperatures. That. Right. You got Kaylee Warden down here. Sorry if I forgot her name. I know it's just in front of me. Kaylee Warden said she has been loving the weather this past week. As Rutgers is experiencing, has been, oops. She said this is her favorite time of year because you start to see everyone going outside more. And then, like I said, by paraphrase, you can actually cut down on things that don't sound so repetitive. The changing weather, she has been pointing out the sun to do more work or simply to ask for the sun. However, I know that the temperature will be going back down soon, and that is concerning because of global warming. All right, so there you go. Now I've just given you essentially like how now we can stick transitions in between those anecdotes and those quotes. I gave you just 3 of them right there. That's how simple it can be. And then, basically there's also a little bit more description in this kind of story. I can actually we tried a little bit harder to try to paint a picture of what everybody's going through. Basically we get to see what Joe is wearing, that sort of thing. Get a little bit, you maybe ask those sorts of questions you're interviewing, or actually you make that observation in your notes wouldn't otherwise make. Like, what are they wearing? How are they acting? What's the expression on their face? That's what kind of thing you do in a feature story. Okay. Now, here's again the big difference. Okay, so maybe I add in a transition right here. Add in a transition right here. Then I add in a transition right here. Okay. All right. But we have to come up with a theme for the story, kind of like liking the hot weather, but not liking the mixed situation so much. Okay. So, you try to think of maybe what would be a lead for this story. Okay. All right. So Rutgers students, they say they've been frustrated with the gloomy weather recently, but they're pleased that the weather has at least gotten warmer. I know it doesn't sound like earth-shattering news, but again, it's supposed to be an engaging story, a light story. People like to kind of light features sometimes just because it's something relatable, like I talked about with the clothing and stuff like that. Okay, now here's the big difference. I wrote that like a lead, right? Only the big difference here is that's not going to be your lead. That's going to be your nut graph. This is how you can actually construct this feature story, so that actually you can kind of envision what would look like more as a straight news story, and kind of develop it into a nut graph. what you're gonna do is you're gonna take one of these anecdotes maybe from here, okay? And you're gonna, I would take maybe Kaylee's, actually. That seemed to kind of like echo the whole sentiment I just expressed there. Basically sum up the news, the notes you got, which are right there in discussion points, and you put it at the top. Now you have an anecdotal lead. We can always return to Kaylee. We don't have to actually leave her high and dry. A lot of times, actually, what they do in these feature stories, they start off with a person, and then they end with the same person. But by starting off with Kaylee, we can actually drill down to maybe her personal frustrations or pleasantries or whatever that more specific to her. We can drill down and get more detail. Okay, so that's all. See what I did there? I just moved essentially one anecdote to the top. So now it starts with Kaylee Warden said she's been loving the weather this past week. Rutgers been experiencing 70s and mid-80s. She said this is her favorite time of year because you start to see everyone going outside. With this change in weather, she has been going outside and doing more schoolwork, to read, or to simply bask in the sun. Nice. I like the idea of basking in the sun. That's good writing right there. It's good. Like Kaylee actually provided essentially, but but that was actually a good quote she had there. Essentially, that we turn into a paraphrase. Hopefully, but then we get into the however. However, I know the temperature is going to be going back down soon, and that is concerning in regards to global warming. Okay, and the nut graph. Okay, people are kind of looking for like something here to basically give me at this point to give me an idea because it is a feature story, but it's also a news story at the same time. So they are looking for news. Okay. But they're hopefully by this point they're kind of hooked in by the stylistic writing and the engaging story, basking in the sun, the sense of being there, the sense of feeling. Rutgers should say they've been frustrated by the gloomy side of the story, the gloomy weather recently, but they're pleased that the weather has at least gotten warmer. Okay. Like some students say. It's nice to have a consistent idea of what they're wearing. It's kind of what Joe got into. See, blah, blah, blah. Or you could say or even it's frustrating not knowing what to wear or what to. That's it. Right? And that's it. So basically, that's just like a guide that's supposed to kind of serve to you, basically showing that, feature stories basically have a kind of color, but it's not necessarily stuff that you make up. Okay, it's or even an opinion on it. You add elements like basking in the sun or the clothes that people wear, or that sort of thing. Especially in a weather story, because actually kind of essentially a symbolic of what you wear. Essentially, it's symbolic of what the weather is. It's supposed to be light. It's supposed to be featurey. It's supposed to be readable, something you can read from top to bottom. Okay. Remember with me, I went over the 2 chapters with 8 and 12 to basically help supplement what I've talked about here. Like I said, if you have any questions, let me know. If you want me to see a rough draft ahead of time, let me know. Let me see a rough draft of the Rutgers tuition story. That's fine too. I mean, again, I'm not trying to be harsh. It's been a very good class. One of my best classes ever, to be honest with you. I was just a little surprised, and I can understand that assignments actually, I'd be honest with you, not to throw people under the bus, but I'm actually required to give a data journalism assignment. I would probably choose not to, okay? But it's viewed as something that's actually digital, something that's kind of edgy, something that's actually modern, that people are doing nowadays, and they are. So I tried to find maybe the simplest topic possible. And also, by the way, let me just do this one more thing here regarding that. Again, these are actually easy to find, okay? All you got to do is essentially just put in the Rutgers tuition, right? Maybe any year, okay? And if you maybe put in Rutgers today, if it gets there quicker, okay? 22 Rutgers today. It's just, they want you to actually Rutgers actually wants people to actually dig for things. I mean, now we gotta actually, I would prefer actually go right to the Rutgers news release, but you could go to, a newspaper source too. This is the again, this is actually the career news or mycentraljersey.com, okay? There was one year that was wrong that NJ.com got, they put 2.5 instead of 2.6. So I won't mark anybody wrong if they like use that as a resource. But you know, it was, and again, I have to be honest with you, I think that was actually 2021, 22, okay? Let me try a different, actually, let me try this, just do this. Or, you know, you get to the, that's, okay. Maybe just do hike. There we go. Right at the top, you add in hike, and now you get it. This is their news release. This is how they communicate to the public. Okay, so the board approves $5.1 billion budget. We remain committed to providing excellence in academic experience, blah, blah, blah. And see, this is like the kind of general reason they always provide. And I mean, you could like pretty much rubber stamp that after every, after every story on every tuition increase, which is why I'm saying, basically, you can almost use this reason as your general reason for why they raised tuition 4 out of the last 5 years, okay? All right, so that's it, everybody. I appreciate it. And so that's what we got due, and not much else left to do in this class. So I appreciate it, and we'll be talking. Let me know if you need any help. Thanks.